Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tactical Tuesday. Tonight's topic is making plans. Alrighty, so before we get into making plans, I can say hi to everyone. Thank Bruce for being up here helping me.
No problem, Joe.
I was hoping that Steve was going to be here too. I sent him the invite, but after all, he's had to make plenty of plans in his school professions. All right, so let's go back here to see who all shared. Do a little roll call here before we jump in on this. In case it dropped off the first one. First one in here, I'm trying to remember who it was that, put in an appearance first right away. May have been Dustin King Poopaw. All right, then we have Hugo Homestead, Beautiful Harvest Abby, blah, blah. My evil twins here. King Poopaw's here. Backwoods Law, of course, is next to me here. Courtney at White Family Farm. Kaylin Strain, Suburban Hillbilly. Magica Angel 0302. I'm probably butchering that. I apologize. Shady Hill Homestead. Purple Tea Bear. Digs Outdoors. The Kraken is here. And perfect thing. Yeah, I'm going to throw this up now. Fail to plan to fail. Absolutely. All right. Q Kitchen and Beyond's here. Emma 3010 is here. Fishes and Loaves Lives. And everyone's talking here. And now everyone's talking. I got to pick out the ones that are new slided in here. Ryder Dust is here. Lord Gardner Josh is here. Lord of the Gourd. Martin Moody's here. Everyone's talking, good, making friends, saying hi to old friends. Klingon Princess is here. And coming down. Great. That's everybody that's in the chat. There are probably a few lurkers out there according to the numbers here, but hey, lurking is fine. You don't have to talk to learn something. In fact, you probably learn more if you don't talk. All right. Tonight's topic was requested. I've been making comments in a couple other on other channels, videos and stuff, and plans came up. And I mentioned about plans and about how you need to do plans, base plans, and all this other stuff. And several people said, "How do you do plans? How do you do plans? What's a base plan? What's a response plan? And so this is going to be a watered down version of a course I taught at Emergency Preparedness Fairs. That's usually an hour to an hour and a half course. We're not going to run that long. And so we're going to just give you the quick overview of it and then try to answer a lot of questions and get you started on the right way. One of the things coming up mentioned in the slides here is I'm working on a presentation that's going to be part of the Prepping for Beginners series. And I'll tell you about that when I get to it. But first, Bruce, when you're in the military, did you do things without a plan?
Hell no. Especially not when I was on the SRT team, which is Special Reaction Team that the MPs have. It's basically your SWAT team, but in the Army for MPs. We would plan everything out. We would even put tape on the floor so when we were practicing entering a building, we would have the floor layout and we would tape it down on the floor so we could practice going in.
Yeah, cool. And that's the thing is, a lot of people have the misunderstanding that a plan, you write it up, you're done. No.
That's a guideline.
Yeah, exactly. So let me bring up the slides here. And so we're going to go into it here. If I can get my mouse to work over here. There we go. So plans can be, especially what we're talking about, are aimed specifically for these are aimed at families. And you can have young kids, you can have older kids, you can have no kids, you can be an empty nester. You can still make plans to work. All right. So basically, to make a true plan, it's actually multiple stages. You have a goal, you start writing out the plan, and then you put the plan into action. And I froze. So we're going to look at these stages here as we go through here. All right. So first, some basic stuff here first. The first thing you're going to need is a pencil and a notebook, people, because you're going to want to write some of this stuff down, even if it's just to say a timestamp such and such. I need to go back and review this. All right. The second thing you need is a co-planner, because 2 heads are better than 1 and 3 are better than 2. All right. And if you have kids, do not discount including the kids in your planning. Kids have a different way of looking at things, and they'll come up with an idea that you'll never think of. And I'll be like, whoa, that's a great idea. All right. So don't discount the kids. Third thing, you need to have an open mind. Don't try to go into, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the only thing we're going to do, and I'm going to concentrate just on this. You need to have an open mind, and you need what's called a parking lot, and we'll talk about what a parking lot is later for ideas. So, and the fourth thing you need is patience. This is not something you do in 1 hour and you're done. All right. I've worked on some plans that have taken me weeks to write up. All right. So plans are not just a simple little guideline. They are in depth and take care of stuff. All right. Some ground rules here for making plans. All right. There are certain things you have to understand about making plans. And when you're making these plans, you need to realize there are only 2 rules: what a man can do and what a man can't do. In other words, what can you do and what you cannot do. Don't make a plan for something you can't do. It ain't going to work. All right. And also, everything is connected in the web of preparedness. You think it's not a straight line like going down a railroad track. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Stuff comes at you from different sides. I got to take some information from over here, or I got to take some information from over there. I got to take some information from behind me and bring it up here. Everything's kind of connected, and it doesn't go together really smoothly like people think, oh, a plan's just going to right down the line. It's convoluted as it comes together. And it's bringing stuff together. It's like paint. You don't just use one color and do paint all the one color one, then move on to the next color. A real artist moves back and forth between his colors and stuff. So when you're doing planning, you got to realize it's not going to be straight down the line. All right. And of course, since we're talking about preparedness, we're talking about, disasters, emergencies, types of stuff. And there are different types of disasters. There's natural, man-made, terrestrial, events that causes disasters. But the thing you need to settle on first, and you need to write this down again, folks, write it down. What are your goals? And some people are saying, well, I'm not sure what my goals are yet. Okay, cool. Make a list of goals, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And as you come across things you want to make into your goal, add it to it. You may think of some goals to add while we're discussing tonight. All right. All right. This is called a parking lot. Someone comes off with an idea different from what you guys are discussing, because whatever somebody's discussing inspired them to say, oh, what about this? We don't want to forget about this. Well, fine. Write it down, stick it on the parking lot, and you'll come back to it later. The parking lot is where you put ideas and stuff that you need to come back to, and you never discount an idea, because you have an idea up there and you could go on with what you're working on right then. And then you go over and you start looking at the board. What else do we need to add to it? And then someone else is going to look at the posted idea and go, hey, wait a minute. That one there makes me think of something else here. We need to try this other thing too. So you never discount ideas, because they can be inspiration for other steps. All right. This is what I'm going to be. I'm working on a presentation about SMART goals. It hopefully will be out by Saturday. Knock on wood. SMART goals are, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic, and time bound. We're not going to go into much about SMART goals here, because it takes a half hour to go through a SMART goal explanation. So, but basically, when you're thinking about goals and stuff, you got to be specific. It has to be about a specific topic, or specific goal. It has to be measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. All right, so let's move on because I'm going to come back to that. So when I worked for Homeland Security, I wrote a lot of tactical response plans, over 40 of them. I also wrote the base plan first. And this is where people fall down. They don't write a base plan. They just start to go, oh, I'm going to write a plan for, sorry, froze again. They go, oh, I'm going to write a plan for earthquakes, or I'm going to write a plan for hurricanes, or I'm going to write a plan for tornadoes. Hey, Crazy Ed. So what you need to realize is that you need to have a base plan first, because the base plan is sort of like the foundation of your planning system. Okay, so what does a base plan cover? A base plan covers your basic supplies: food, water, medical, clothing, sanitation, etc. These are things that are not going to change. Basically, because you have a specific, because you have a different events. So these are kind of your basic, your cornerstone of your preparedness. A base plan should also include a communications plan, a document storage and backup plan, things like that that you need to be worried about. Now, communication plan has to deal with how you're going to communicate any information to those you need to communicate it to. Document storage is like your copies of driver's license, birth certificates, house deeds, insurance policies, titles to cars, all that stuff that you may need, insurance policies, all that stuff, all the paperwork you need. You need to have a document storage plan for that and have backups at other locations. That was one of the big things we did in Homeland Securities. We had every 3 months, we had to back everything up and send it to a different site for backup. All right. So the event plans. This is the actual disasters, if you will. In Homeland Security, we talked about we had our base plan and then our TRPs, our tactical response plan, how we respond to an event. And these are just some events. This is all inclusive. I left a lot of ones that I wrote plans for out of this. But we got here accidents, active shooters, airplane crashes, asteroid impacts, not very likely, but have a plan for avalanches, bad knees, biohazards, births, blizzards, cancer, contagions, crime, deaths, droughts, earthquakes, economic collapses, EMPs, famines, fires, floods, fuel shortages, heat waves, it goes on. And of course it ends with everybody's favorite, the zombie apocalypse. Now, there are things missing from this, like food shortage. We're seeing food shortages, clothing shortages. There could be other things that could be on here as a event that causes a emergency or could be considered a disaster for your family. So just remember these. You don't have to prepare for all these. All right, Carol at Fishes and Loaves is not going to plan for a blizzard in Florida or an avalanche in Florida. All right. Mudslides, you don't have that big elevation to have mudslides down there. So those are things she's probably not going to plan for. A tsunami, she might plan for. The highest point in Florida is only 362 feet. So where you're at will help dictate what sort of things, and we're going to be getting into that more. So, and here we go. Historically, what disasters happen in your area? These are the things you're going to plan for. If you have a historic of like California, earthquakes all the friggin' time. Right now, fires all the friggin' time. So those are two major ones they need to plan for in California. All right. So those you pick out what disasters happen there routinely. You rank them by likelihood. All right. And then you start with the number one most likely one to happen. And that's the first event plan or tactical response plan you work on. That's going to be the first, targeted specifically to an event you're going to work on. And remember, when you're doing up your plans and you're talking about all the stuff you need, everything, it's Need versus need. What's a need? That's a Dr. Seuss word. It means you think you need it. Oh, I think I need 150 closed circuit TV cameras around my house. No, I don't. Yeah. I think I need to have a MRAP parked in the driveway. No, I don't. So these are kind of the things you need to think about. All right. Froze again. Training and skills you need to learn based on your event plans. All right. So things are out of order. Sorry. I was putting this together fast. Yeah, they're all out of order. There we go. Yes, good. Okay. Education. All right. Start with education versus training versus skills. There's difference between all these. And Bruce can really attest to this for some of the training he's gone through. You do book training. Say you want to be, I want to be a brain surgeon. So you go and you do all the book training and stuff. Does that give you everything you need to actually go out and perform brain surgery? No. So you got your education done. Now you need to do physical training or an internship. You learn from others and get some hands-on experience under the guidance and tutelage of an experienced physician. You in that training, you build up the skills where you can do it and you can actually then teach others. So there's a difference between education, training, and skills. In Boy Scouts, we call it the EDGE method. Explain, demonstrate, guide, and then enable them. All right. Now, if you're setting in your plans a specific time frame to get things done, the time frame of your plans and skills you need to learn will affect how and when you learn them. If there's something that's really important, well, I really need to learn how to do canning right away, then that's, for some reason, that's in your plans to be focused on canning and get canning done for food storage and stuff. That may be more important than I need to learn how to shoe a horse. See what I'm going at? You may need to learn how to shoe a horse at some time, but you don't need it as quickly as you may need to learn how to do canning or plant a garden or stuff like that. So what type of skills are there you might need for emergencies? This is just a few of the skills that I put together. And so if you look at this list of skills, all right, side chat, pay attention. If you look at this list of skills, what do you think I believe is the number one skill? I'll give you guys about 10 seconds here to type out what you think I believe the number one skill is here. Oh, and it's not zombie killing. So look at the list. What do you think I believe is the number one skill? All right, Diggs, Ryder Desk got it. Diggs got it. First aid, it's the one out of order. Everything else is, can I cheat? Yeah, Bruce, you can cheat. So first aid, that is probably the number one skill people need to learn. When I was in Boy Scouts as a Scoutmaster, first aid merit badge is required for a whole bunch of other merit badges. You can't get the other merit badges unless you have the first aid merit badge first. And so of my scouts, the first merit badge they always earned was first aid. All right. Let's move on here. So what type of skills might you need? Continue on this. Can you learn the skills you think you need? Can you learn it or them for free? Can you be taught for free? If not, how much will it cost? And you need to include that in your plans. Some people are going, wait a minute, we're talking about one plans, now we're talking about other plans. There are plans within plans within plans. Okay, how long will it take for you to learn it? You need to add that into your plan. As far as a factor. Can you teach this to others? if you can teach the skill to others, then you have a group or several people in the family. One learns one skill, you learn another, and someone else learns another. If it costs, you have to go through the cost training, and then after you guys learn it, you teach it to each other, so everyone doesn't have to pay the cost. And which skill is most important besides first aid? That's what you have to decide. Which skill is most important for you? Other plans: Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. What am I talking about here? Well, let's turn you south when you needed. Everything's jumping around here. When you needed to go north. So yeah, if you needed to go one direction for something, and you're, whatever it is you're planning on, and something happens, whether it's another event, whether it's something totally unrelated, and it detours you on what your plan has, you need to figure a way to work around it. So that works on that as far as what sort of plans. Now, this is where we get into the part that most people do not understand about plans. Plans are living things. They grow, they change. They need to be taken care of if they are to take care of you. You need to have at least an annual review, and I think I missed the one here. Nope, that was it. Okay. So I'm going to give you a simple plan here that is the most basic of plans before you divide. This is part of the base plan. So this is a simple basic plan. Food plan. Okay, so what you do is you plan out a 4-week/28-day meal plan. All right, but there are some restrictions on this. You can do no repeat dinners. So that means you need to have 28 different dinners. Why? Because if you have all the same dinner, you're going to get bored of it, and it's called, I forget what it's called. It's sort of like food burnout. It's like, I don't want it. I'm not hungry. I'm not getting, So yeah, you do no repeat dinners. No more than 7 repeat breakfasts. So if you really like Raisin Bran, you can only have it 7 times during the 4-week period. Yeah, Kaylin put it up there. Food fatigue, yes. And then the other thing too is no more than 7 repeat lunches. However, lunches have a little twist to it. If you've made too much for dinner, you can use the dinners for a leftover lunch. But you don't want to have, sandwiches, or you don't want to have peanut butter and jam sandwiches more than 7 times in a month. You can have peanut butter and jam. You can have turkey sandwiches. You can have roast beef sandwiches. You can have ham sandwiches. You can break up sandwiches. You can do soups for lunch. You break it up and around on it, but you plan it out. So once you have a 28-day meal plan, that's phase 1. Phase 2 is turn that 4-week 28 meal plan into a 8-week 56-day meal plan. And once you have all the supplies for that in your supplies, then you add another 4 weeks to it. And you can, as my wife likes to do, that second 4-week meal plan, she starts changing up some of the dinners. So, there's some other ones that she wasn't able to fit in on the first one. She'll add them in on the second one. And then after you have, a certain much, then you can just start repeating the meal plan over and just keep adding it on till you build up your supplies. And that bring us back down here. So that's basic now. So now everyone, I'm in trouble already. I just eat one big meal, one big dinner a day. And sometimes I saw someone's thing go by. All right, Emma says no official lunches. And there was someone else saying with picky eaters. And that's
Carol.
why, Carol, all right, with picky eaters, that's why you bring them in on the meal plan. you don't just do it yourself. Like I said in the beginning, you need to have multiple planners. You get the whole family together and you work on it. And that way you'll find out that your picky eaters actually have a few things they like that, you didn't think they like. And it's like my one son, he's on the scale. He has Asperger's and he's on the scale. And we thought, okay, he's never going to like chili and beans. Well, he likes chips and cheese, big the tortilla chips out there and sprinkle cheese on it, toss it in the oven under the broiler a little bit. Well, he tried, saw my wife sprinkle some chili and beans on it, and he tried it. Guess what? When he makes it now, he opens up a can of chili and beans and adds chili and beans to his chips, and he really likes that. So there are things that your picky eaters can all of a sudden surprise you with things that they like, but sometimes they don't want to let you know they like it because they made such a stink about it till they tried it and realized, ooh, I do like green eggs and ham. Hey, Jay. So questions. All right, let's go back and questions over what I just rattled through really quick here. Anybody have any questions on what I went over? Start, firing questions about certain things. And I'm going to kind of review it a little bit here off the side here. I'm not going to show it to you, but going back here. So, just so everybody understands, your goals are is to be ready for emergencies. And for your base plan, your goal should be having plenty of food, plenty of water, plenty of medical, clothing, shelter, etc. Things that you go out and gather. Another goal is to set up some thumb drives or CDs that are set up as USB, where you put it in a computer and read all the files off of it, with copies of photographs, scanned copies of your insurance policies, stuff like that. Okay, just keeping an eye on the chat, looking for some questions. Cap blocks on the questions brought to my attention, so I don't miss it here. In setting up your plans, remember, very important part about planning for emergencies. It's not a 50-yard dash. It's a marathon. All right. You don't go out there trying to get it all done. It's going to take you a while to get there. It's like, I love this analogy that someone pointed out to me, and I've been using it for years now. It's like the Christmas claymation one, Santa Claus is coming to town, when he's talking with the Winter Warlock, and the Winter Warlock saying he wants to be good, but he doesn't know how. And he goes through the song, put one foot in front of another, and soon you're walking across the floor, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you're walking out the door. Same thing with prepping. You don't buy it all at once. You buy a little here, a little there, a step, another step, and you work on it a little at a time.
Hey, Gil, I just wanted to mention, a lot of people, when you start talking about medical, they get very intimidated by that and they get nervous. So whether you just learn first aid or you want to go to the next level and you want to become an EMT, a paramedic, or something like that. And I know I've said this in several of them before, but if you go to your local volunteer fire department, because there are many more local volunteer fire departments in this country than there are career departments, most of them have a need for EMTs and paramedics. So if you go there and tell them you're interested in that and you're willing to go through the training, they will pay for it. So you don't have to pay for it, because a basic EMT course runs about $500 to $600 depending. If you want to become a medic, that usually takes about 2 years. You get an associate's degree out of it. And usually, if you're doing it through the fire department, they will pay around $1,800 to $2,000 to get you trained up to that level. So, I mean, that's a lot of expense if you're just going to put it out of pocket. Right. But if you can do that, and you're also helping your community at the same time. So you're going to get to know the local law enforcement. You're going to get to know the local ambulance crews. Plus, you're going to be an emergency responder as well. Yeah. So that's a very good thing if you want to get into everything and know the people, so that if something bad goes down, hey, the cops over here know who I am. The medics over here know who I am. I'm one of the firefighters. It's a very good thing to have if you're going into a long-term event. People know, okay, well, this guy can at least put the fire out and can, work on people if they're injured. That's a very good skill to have.
Right. Okay. Tim asks, how long should we prepare with our plans? Well, that's up. That's the $52 question, or the $63,000 question, or what do you want to call it? How long do you think you need to be prepared? One of the things that I've been working on, just because who I am, old anal retentive me, I want to have at least 5-year supply of food, clothing, and I froze. 5-year supply of water is going to be a bit more difficult, but if I don't have, I want to have a good supply of water and then the means to get more water, filter it, make it safe. Because, hey, I got the Snake River close by. I got irrigation ditches flowing by, actually flowing through the property. And I got water rights out of those irrigation ditches for 2 days a week at both properties. So that's 4 days worth of irrigation rights I have water for. And so how long should we be prepared with our plans? Well, like I said, plans are living things. They change. Circumstances change it. Who would have thought that we were going to have all these food shortages 3 years ago? Yeah, we've known about the fragile food supply system for quite a while, but no one realized that, hey, we're going to be having problems where food's becoming short and the price is going through the roof. So there's different things on your plans to figure out, all right, how far out do I need? My sister and her husband learned from the example my parents set to have a supply of food, have a good working pantry with several months worth of food in there, at least, that you're constantly rotating through, besides the long-term pantry. And there were times when they both lost their jobs due to corporate, companies taking over the other one, laying a bunch of people off, or the company going out of business because somebody up above was stealing. Hey, Albany Mountain Homestead. And they, for a while they were doing stuff with their work, they had savings, but instead of buying food, they had food on hand. And so that didn't hurt them quite as bad. They were able to still make their car payment, their rent payments off their savings, and doing odd jobs and stuff until they landed another job. I think the longest time they were both unemployed was 6 months, and they had, a year's worth of food. So they didn't have to buy food. And so, and they maintained other supplies as well that they learned from when we were in the earthquakes in California and stuff. The first thing disappeared off the shelves there back in 1971. First thing disappeared, toilet paper. And so they've had certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of expendables, things you go through that they stocked. And so it did not hit them as hard as other people from the company that weren't prepared when the companies went under or whatever. And they came out of it a lot better. So how long should you have your plans going for? Well, that's something you have to decide, in your area. So let's see, consumables. Yeah, that's right, Kaylin, consumables. So you have to think about, like I was showing there in the slides, you had, all these different type of events that could impact you. How long is it going to impact you for? One of the ones there that I do when I started hurried up at the end there, but fuel shortages. I remember back in the 70s, the fuel shortages that was going on, and fuel prices skyrocketed, and we found out that they were dumping tankers out in the desert to jack the fuel price up. So there's a lot of things to consider in how long you need to plan for. Like I said, I'm like Dave. I look at the Bible several times. 7 years was mentioned. So, that's a good thing to aim for. If you're in an apartment, it's kind of not realistic to have 7 years worth of food in your apartment, but you go with what you can. You work with what you can and plan on what you can do. And like I said, plans are living documents. You plan for 1 year or you plan for 6 months. Once you reach that point, then you extend your plan for another 6 months. One of the plans that my wife and I have totally separate from the emergency plans is our what do I want to call it? Our state of living plan. It's basically called a 5-year plan or a 7-year plan or a 10-year plan. Where do we want to be in 10 years as a family? And one of the things in it we have for here is, we want to have this property paid off in 5 years. We want to have any new vehicle. Froze again. And my wife realizes we need to get a couple pickups, or at least a pickup and an SUV or something, because snow and other things going on, and to be able to haul stuff around. So that's in the plan. All right, we're going to have to buy new vehicles. And so that's all figured in as things we want to do over time. Included in that relates a little bit to the emergency preparedness stuff is, what animals do we want to have? Because we got 5 acres across the street and we got an acre over here. Are we going to do chickens? Are we going to do goats, sheep, cows? Yeah, most likely, we're going to do a couple cows. Do them on a rotating basis. So we always have 2 cows out, at least 2 cows out here. And then when one goes to market, the next spring we get another cow, or we have 3 cows. One goes to market. We have 2 through the winter, and we just rotate by a calf when we're going to process the other one out. So we always have something, to keep the cows happy, and we have food on the hoof, grazing on the land.
Hey, Gil, I'm going to answer Diggs here. He was asking about first aid.
Okay.
He was wanting to know first aid training. What do you think about the Red Cross first aid course versus first responders course? Those 2 courses, and I've taught both of them, are basically about the same thing. The only extra thing that you can do as a first responder is that if somebody actually has a medication on them as a first responder, you can assist them with taking that medication. So if they have an inhaler, you can help them do that. If they have injector for not atropine, that's what we use, for anaphylaxis. Mm-hmm. I'm going with the stuff that we have in our drug boxes now. My brain just went. But
been there, done that.
EpiPen. Yeah. If they have an EpiPen on them and it's prescribed to them, you can assist them as a first responder. So the training is very, very similar between first aid and the first responder course. There's not a whole bunch of extra training you get for that. If you're wanting to get into something where you're actually going to do more that can actually save a person's life, you're going to want to get into emergency medical technician, or they have what's called an EMTA. It's an advanced course. You can do some of the things a paramedic can do, but not everything. Or you go to a paramedics course where they teach you everything that's pre-hospital care to get somebody to a hospital. Of course, the higher you go in that, the more you're going to have to learn, the longer it takes, the more it costs. First responder course, you can probably get at your local fire department for maybe $15 or $20. A EMT course is going to be in the $500 to $600 range, and a medic course is going to be 2 years. You have to get an associate's degree, and it's going to be probably around $2,000 to $2,500. So you just have to say, what is my goal here? Do I want to be the doc of the group, or do I want to be somebody who helps out? So somebody else who's done it for years and knows what they're doing, I can assist them and help them out. Or do you want to be that person that everybody's going to look to when there's a medical emergency? So that's what you have to answer. Are you going to be that person, or are you going to be the person to help them?
Yeah. One of the things too that goes along with what you're talking about is that most people overlook it. There is the CERT program, the Community Emergency Response Team program, and that one of the modules on it is has to deal with triage in a disaster situation, and that is a lot of the people that took the course, that CERT course, were like, "Whoa!" When we first started going into it. But after we went through it and learned everything, and then we had a couple practice drills and stuff, and then practice exercises, they're like, okay, I'm feeling better with this. All this is just saying, all right, we can save this person. We can't save this person. Concentrate on this person over here. This person's already dead. We know about it. We tagged them with a black tag. They're dead. This one here is walking wounded. They've got a yellow tag. This is one has a red tag on it. We really need to concentrate on this one. Then there are some other courses besides the CERT program that the Boy Scouts offer. The Wilderness First Aid course. And there's a 2-day course. The first day on Saturday, you do the Red Cross First Aid CPR AED course. AED? Yeah. And then the second day is all the wilderness survival course. You're out backpacking stuff, how to do stuff, what you do, what's different from that than the first aid course as far as using tourniquets and other stuff up there. And it actually corresponds a little bit towards the triage course for CERT. But there's a lot of these other ones here that they don't cost an arm and a leg. You can learn. It just expands your memory, just your mind, your skills just a little bit to determine whether or not you want to step up to what Bruce was talking about. And then, of course, these other ones, small ones. If you get everyone in the group, your family and stuff, taking these other courses, it makes everybody feel more at ease to have. Hey, everybody has a little bit more than just a first aid card. They know how to do a little bit more, and makes everybody feel a little bit better.
The other thing is when you're out there searching for this, what Gil was just talking about with wilderness first aid. If you go searching on the internet for that, you're going to actually come up with a paramedic and an EMT level course. You have to have your certifications at the national level to take those courses. And they're about 2 to 3 weeks long, but they go through everything that an EMT or a paramedic would need to do for a remote location rescue. So don't get discouraged if you at first search for that and you come up and it says you have to be a paramedic with 2 years experience, have your CCRPs and everything. Yeah. Just look a little further down the list because a lot of the medics are looking for that. That's why it'll be up at the top.
Yeah. If you want to find out about the Boy Scout first aid course, Boy Scouts or scouting, go to, find your local scouting council office, find out when they're doing training. And there's a lot you can learn as an adult advisor at Boy Scouts. And there's all sorts of just adult training that's available for adults that are volunteering for the local scout troop. I mean, it's well worth the time for it. You learn so much. And what's fun, you get to watch the boys learn the same stuff, and you got to watch them make their little mistakes and stuff. And you can learn from their mistakes and help them learn from their mistakes as well. Let's see. I just see that I missed any commentary. I just realized my chat wasn't going by. And like Doug says, Dig says, it's actually fun. It's a great course. Scrolling down here. Make sure I catch everything up here. Yeah, there's in the stuff I was talking about here, when you're making your plans for people come up with ideas, Post-it notes are probably your best friend. You can scribble on it, stick it on the refrigerator or on a window, whatever. You set up a window that's, everyone just puts their notes and things they want to talk about. And when you have your family meeting to talk about your plans, you have a bunch of stuff there to work with.
The other thing too, if you need to, or if you want to get into training and you're very analytical and you want to be doing something like Gil and I did, where you're actually creating the plans, most of the municipalities throughout the country have open positions for either a deputy emergency manager or the actual emergency manager for the city, the borough, whatever it may be. Some of them may even have that position open at the county level. They're supposed to have the county level one covered no matter what, but they may have just had somebody retire. They may have had somebody that moved on to another position somewhere else that was higher up. So,
Or they want to have a backup in that position as
right.
well.
And let me tell you, if you want to learn anything about emergencies and you're an emergency manager, the county or the state 9 times out of 10 will pay for you to go to the professional schools in DC, or pay for you to go to professional schools at the state level, maybe the State Fire Academy or something. And then you will get all of that training and understand completely, because you're going to be going through a 3 or 4 week course while you're there. That may be something that you can do. That may not be something you can do. You have to gauge the level you want to be at. But if you come in and they need a deputy emergency manager at like the city level, it's very possible that you can go in there and only dedicate 2 or 3 hours a week. And they'll say, yeah, that's perfect. That's what we need, because they have a full-time emergency manager that's already doing the job. You just work with them and slowly pick things up. And then when you get to a level where you're comfortable and maybe you can take some time off from work, you go and take a 2-week course at the FEMA school. Boom, you're good. So I wanted to mention that too, because some people are like, well, I'd like to do something else. I've got more training and education and schooling. I'd like to do something to really help the community. That's something else you could do.
All right. Based on, okay, you just mentioned the FEMA, so I'm going to bring this up. FEMA's independent studies.
I've got my card.
The Emergency Management Institute, they have independent studies. That's which you don't have to go in. You can do this stuff online. There's also, you look at this, there's, like here, fourth one here, animals and disasters, community planning, special event contingency planning. There's all sorts of ones here on planning, and you got a lot of pages here, just expanding out here on different types of, you go through and you look through one saying how to do planning for this, how to do coop planning. There's a bunch of different ones in here. You just go through and you just scroll through all the courses. These courses are free. And you can just take them online. I mean, it's like, there are just so many of them here that you can take online that are free. And then there are other courses that are not free that you can sign up for and you can probably get, there are certain, counties and stuff they'll pay if you want to become a reserve type person for the position there. They'll pay you to go to that course, and you just come in once a month or whatever for their meetings and stuff and get caught up on stuff, or, whatever, however they work it. All right, here's one where I talked about the CERT program. This one here, Independent Studies 317A, Introduction to the Community Emergency Response Team, the CERTs. It's, these are all courses you can take on there. Community hurricane preparedness. They do a little bit of planning in that. You learn about stuff. So there's all these different courses here that you can scroll through and just see.
You can take all of these courses. The only thing you won't be able to do on the course is if you're not registered and you're not part of an emergency management agency, you will not be able to get the certificate at the end of it unless you actually belong to an emergency response agency.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to go through the course and you'll see all of the stuff that all the firefighters, police, EMTs have to see and go through, and then they have to test out on it. And that's where you'll actually get the college credits, the 1 credit hour that you see over to the right there. That's where those come in. Those are continuing education credits. And when you're an EMT, a firefighter, a police officer, you have to have, well, when I was doing it, we had to have, for EMTs, 48 continuing education credits per year. So you'd have to do 48 of these courses if they were only one in order to maintain your certification.
Yeah.
So that's why you see those college credits on the side there. That's what that's all about.
You got college credits and continuing education units.
Yeah.
So you got different ones here. Some of them don't have college credits at all, but they count for continuing education. So there's, you look at the courses, different ones here. I'm looking at these. I'm just remember all these basic. I mean, I have a stack about that thick of FEMA courses I went through. A bunch of them I went through that aren't listed on here. And I'm actually trained as an instructor for the this one here, ICS 100, Introduction to Incident Command System. ICS 200, I'm a trained for that one. Ones that's not on here is the 300 and 400, which is even higher levels up.
You got to go and do the classes
Yeah.
with everybody, and they do the tabletops.
Yeah, and I've got the ones that teach leadership about it. So I got probably about 15 of them I'm trained as an instructor for now. But yeah, there's just so much things in there, and some of these get to be fun. And some of them are, and some of them they've taken off. They're reworking them. I'm waiting for them to put them back. So they put 55 back. Nope, they haven't put 55 back on. 55 was household hazmats. They're reworking that one. So there's a lot of household, individual stuff, and then it expands out in different rings of what these courses cover. So there's a lot of interesting things there for learning as well. But
right or dust, the search teams, your particular community or county may not have a CERT team set up. So that would be something to maybe go to board of directors for your county or the board of supervisors and say, listen, I've done this training. I'm sure other people in this county have done this. Are we going to set up a CERT team or not? Because you need to have an emergency manager that's running that team. So they have to have somebody in place that's already been trained and knows how to work with a CERT team. Because if you don't have an organized team, it does you no good, because you're going to need to communicate with the police, fire, EMS.
Yeah.
If they don't know what you're doing and you're not an official entity of the county, they're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So that's why it has to be set up properly.
And that's one thing I like. That is the one thing California did right. They set it up so at the county, every county has what's called a CERT board, and it's all volunteers. And usually they have several of the volunteers are from fire departments on it, and they help. They maintain in there to make sure it's running right. But they elect from everybody from all the different cities, all the different CERT teams, send a representative, and they elect someone to run the that board for a 2-year period. And sometimes the person gets elected 3-4 times because they're doing a great job, but they work on it. I was a member of the C8 in Contra Costa County, which was Contra Costa County Citizen Corps CERT Community Council. C8, yeah. And we dealt with the state. We got all sorts of grants from the state. We got grants from Homeland Security, because even though everybody in the organization leadership was a volunteer, we were able to we were recognized by the county and by the state as an official CERT organization with authority to do grants and stuff. So yeah, and it's and I know in my county, all right, the city of Martinez had a CERT program, city of Concord, city of Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Hercules, Danville, rural San Ramon. Every city in Contra Costa County had a CERT program. Most of the CERT programs were affiliated with the police department. Some of them, like San Ramon, was affiliated with the San Ramon Fire Department or the Danville Fire Department. So they were affiliated either with the police department or with the fire department if that city had its own fire department. The county fire department kind of oversaw the training going on, but they stepped back as far as responsibility, say, hey, we'll train, you guys are on your own. We're not, we don't have the budget for that, but we have the budget for training. Any others? Looking here, allotments. Okay, just looking for any questions here. So when you're setting up your plan, start small. And start first thing you do is a base plan. That is your foundation. That is the gravel work under your everything. That's the foundation for your plans. You start out with your base plan, and it, like I said, the base plan covers food, water, medicine, clothing, shelter as the one part, and the other part is a communication plans and a records and document plan. And so, you got plans within plans. And so, I mean, that's the way it is. Like the one slide I showed there with the spider web. That's the way emergency preparedness is. You got this one tugging over here, this one tugging over. This connects to that one connects to that one, this one connects to that one, that one connects to that one, that one connects to that one.
The other thing is Caitlin had mentioned Caitlin, sorry, Caitlin, the ham radio service, and they actually have their own separate organization within ham radio. It's called ARES. It's the Amateur Radio Emergency Service.
Right.
And if you have your ham license, you can put your license number in and search on the ARRL's website, and they'll tell you where the closest emergency communications team is to where you live. And you can go over there, put an application in with them. I think it costs like $5 or $10 to join the team. But those teams typically are at the county level, and they will handle for the entire county if there's an issue where the phones are out, electricity's out, something like that, and they need to have communications. There it is. Throughout the county, because if the county radio system goes down, they may need to have enough people to have an amateur radio guy in each police car, because their radios only work to an antenna that's in the county that then will retransmit it back to the 911 center. So if that's all down because the power's been out for 2 weeks, guess what? They're going to have to get the radio call somehow. So they have to have an amateur radio person with them. And when you go into those types of things for emergency communications, typically you're considered a first responder. That's where, if you look in your state, you'll see people have emergency radio communications plates, or they'll have emergency responder plates on their cars. That's because they're more than likely they're an amateur radio person that's out there to help if there's a problem that's going on where their communications are breaking down. They will send those guys out because they have the equipment already and the training. So it's not something the county pays for. It's something that you specifically did as a hobby. And because you know it, they rely on you for the emergency service.
Yeah. Now, what it says here, it is an organization, is organized and sponsored by the American Radio Relay League, which is the #1 radio ham radio organization in the United States. It is, it is recognized by Congress, the ARRL. Yep. Then beyond that is the MARS, which is the Military Amateur Radio Service.
Auxiliary Radio Service.
Auxiliary Radio, Military Auxiliary Radio Service.
To get into that, though, you can't just have the technician license. You have to actually have a general, or you have to have the advanced. If you don't have either one of those, you're not going to be able to get into MARS, because MARS gets into a lot more technical stuff, and you're allowed under federal law to have an actual kicker on your radio that will boost the power up much higher than you're allowed to as a regular amateur radio operator, so that if you need to contact a military organization that's over in Europe, you have the power and the antenna to actually be able to do that, because you can bypass a lot of federal and state laws because you're a MARS radio operator. Yeah.
And I know the CERT program we had in Martinez, we wound up with like 15, 20 ham radio operators. And we had that, when we wound up with that many there coming down to City Hall for our Saturday little practice up there, the mayor was there like, "What's all these people doing here?" And he goes, "Dang, we got that many? Chief, we need to back these guys up and do we have still have our extra, the radios that we replaced? We need to get these guys those radios." And the CERT program got 25 government radios from the police department to use for the CERT teams. So each team out there, each neighborhood team leader got or the ham radio person on his team got one of those radios. That was, one of the coolest things that ever happened there. It's like, yes, I'm out of here. You guys got it.
Well, that was what was cool about the city where I worked in PA. When they went through the update where they went to the 800 megahertz system and they were changing everything over to that, the chief of police in our area actually said, wait a second, I need the emergency manager to have one of these radios. And they were like $3,500. They were the brand new 800 meg with the, was it the alternating frequency on them?
Yeah.
So it bounced around to the different frequencies while you're transmitting. So he said, yeah, I need to have the emergency manager have a radio because when we start flooding down here, I need to be able to talk to him. So that got us a $3,500 radio for the emergency management team. I was the only one on the team at the time, but
yeah. So, and when it comes to your personal communications plan, ham radio has a lot of kickers on it that most people don't know about. I know in the city of Martinez, we had a dialer on the club's ham radio frequency, which meant you could call into the repeater and you could enter a code and it would dial a phone number for you. So you could be on the radio and you could, dial your house if you're away out in the boonies where the cell phones don't reach. And you could call in and say, hey, yeah, we're stuck out here or whatever. We're doing fine. We'll be in about 4 hours. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's like a party line. Everybody on that frequency heard the conversation, and you had to admit, and the person on the phone had to realize they had to say over when they're finished saying their sentence. So, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff, interesting stuff on ham radio as well.
The other thing that some people don't realize now, if you go and get your license, you'll be trained in this. But if there is a life and death emergency, anybody anywhere can pick up a radio and even go on to police frequencies and transmit a life and death emergency. And you will not be charged for using police frequencies, without having authorization or anything. But that's only if it's an immediate life or death emergency. Somebody's going to die if you don't make contact. And a lot of people don't realize that, if you have one of those ham radios, and you can get them for $50-$60 on Amazon, and they're not massively expensive. You just have to make sure you have a good antenna on it. And then you have to know the frequencies of the police, fire, EMS in your area. And you can buy little code books that have all of that goes by zip code throughout the entire country. This is the frequency for the police, state police, fire, EMS. And if you have an emergency, an actual physical emergency, you can get onto those frequencies. And once you get on there, dispatch will be like, who the hell are you? We don't have your radio registered. And you tell them what's going on, and then they will send out urban search and rescue or whatever if you need assistance, or they'll send an ambulance to you, or police if you're lost and can't find yourself. So that's one of the things people don't think about with ham radio.
Yeah. There are, some of the prices on some of these are coming down too. 4 of them for $43, the Bowfangs. The dual band and is $49, has dual band on it. And that's usually a 2 meter 440 frequencies. If but there's I'm trying to find it. They had a 10 pack of the 220 frequency for $99.
The only problem with the 220 frequency,
it's not very popular.
Yeah, that's one that you're going to run into a lot of businesses, so they may overpower your signal. And number 2, you're not going to be able to dial in a lot of the radio frequencies that law enforcement, fire, and EMS use, because those are in the 400 meg range.
Yeah. And so, here you got 6 of the 440 for 143. So you divide that down. That's $25 each, roughly. $23 each.
Plus, you've got a stand that you can charge all 6 of them and keep them charged up fully.
Yeah. So if you and what's funny is the person that taught my wife and I for our technician license, his wife, his daughter, and his son all had ham radio license, and the son was the youngest, and at the time he was 12, and he had the general license.
Yep.
So there are a lot of different things to consider for your communication plan. And I haven't done the communication plan yet. I got a list of videos to do for prepping for emergencies, but I've talked plenty about the communications plans, having people out of state as your point of contact, or out of your area, 100 miles away. That's, if your area is affected by a disaster, they may not be, and that's your point of contact. You have several of those set up, friends, relatives, cousins.
And the nice thing too is when you learn about ham radio, one of the things you learn is how to build your own antennas. And that is critical to have, because depending on what you're trying to do and the distance you're trying to get with that radio, I can take a 5-watt radio, and if I have a big enough antenna high enough up, a 5-watt radio can talk to Europe with the right atmospherics. But you learn all of that as you're going through, when you get your tech license, and then as you get your general license, and when you go to your advanced. And that's because that's something that you don't just jump into. You have to learn and understand how to do it, because you don't just talk to Europe because you want to. You have to do things physically and be in the right position to be able to bounce a radio wave off of the atmosphere, or to be able to directly send that signal at them and, hopefully, luckily, get somebody that's listening on that frequency.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I know when I was at the Boy Scout camp in California, up in the mountains, up on the north fork of the Stanislaus River, by I just forgot the name of the town, up above Highlands Reservoir, but it's a long drive from the Bay Area. Well, in between there and the Bay Area is Mount Diablo, which has the largest ham radio footprint in the United States.
I know Mount Diablo.
And so on Mount Diablo, there's like 20 different repeaters, different radio clubs and stuff. And we were set up so that the council office had our ham radio, and they had it on all the time, tuned to one of the repeaters. And from the scout camp, they could hit that repeater, and if the phones were out, they could communicate with the council office if there was an emergency. Hey, Reef Robber. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get out by Christmas a nice, good 30-minute comm plan video for everybody. And so that's, there's a lot of interesting things, but when it comes to your plans, one step at a time. Start small, expand your plan, fill everything on that, expand your plan. Don't try to do, let me bring it back up here real quick. Don't try to cover all of these. There we go. You don't try to plan for all these events at one time. What is going to happen most likely in your area? Where I'm at here, it's power outages and snowstorms right now. Bruce, what is it for your area? I know you're kind of new to your area, but what's most likely you think going to happen there?
The biggest thing that we're in danger of is there might be some small snow showers, not like we're used to in Pennsylvania down here, but they don't have snow plows and they don't have salt trucks down here. So that becomes a problem. Yeah. The other thing is they do get icing events. So it's possible that your power could go out for a week or so. So it's important to have heating, communications, alternate means of cooking, alternate means of communication, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So you plan on, you look at what's in your area. What are the most likely ones? Did I go back? Yeah. No. Where's this historically? Yeah. So, what disasters happen in your area, which ones can happen there that aren't all the time, and rank them by likelihood, and then plan accordingly. That's, you start planning small and work bigger. Don't try to do everything at once.
Well, and the other thing is you're not having to do the stuff like Gil and I were. We were trying to make up plans for multiple different agencies to try and respond to something. That's something that's totally different than you as a homeowner. You need to know what your specific issue is, and it can be much easier for you. And just to make sure you don't miss something, that's why you have your wife in on it with you, or your neighbor, and also the kids from the neighbor, your kids, because kids will think of stuff that you won't think of. They'd be like, oh, wait a second, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it was funny. I'm going to brag on my youngest son. Because when I was helping set up the CERT program in Martinez, I was the primary instructor. I had another guy who was the former chief of police of San Ramon. He lived in Martinez, and we both went through the local accreditation training course to be instructors. Of course, I had the federal training already up, but I kept my mouth shut on that. I didn't want to let blow it for these guys teaching me, and so we were the ones running the course, setting it up, running the whole program, and about that time, federal said, okay, hey, teen cert. You need to start teaching teens, because a lot of schools you had to do 20 hours of community service to graduate. Well, the course is 20 hours long, and they were taking it. And so my son, who was 14 at the time, went through the course, and on the drill, I had people coming up to me and goes, I didn't think to bring my book like your son did. He's out there. Wait, we're supposed to be doing this, this, and this. And he had the book with him, the CERT manual with him in the drill. And it's like, after that, everybody started bringing their manuals to the drills, so they could, even though they've been trained, the manual has the reference. They know where to look to get the down and dirty details.
Well, and I was trained at FEMA's school, but what did I have if I had to go out on a call? I had one of those plastic boxes that had like 5 of the 3-inch ring binders in it. Mm-hmm. And it had all the information for every plan that I'd ever done related to our little area of the world. Because when you get out there, 15 different things are happening. You're talking to 5 different chiefs. You're talking to 2 different people that are trying to supply water or supply dirt or something to try and resolve whatever issue's happening. You got to have something that you can go down a checklist or something. Just say, okay, yeah, I thought of that and we took care of that. I thought of that. Checklists are your best friend when you're trying to do this, to get prepared ahead of time. Because if you think you're going to remember everything up here, you're full of it.
Yeah. I have forgotten more stuff than most people know, and that's why I have notebooks. I have all of my binders. Like I showed you my binders here. I got several binders from when I worked at Homeland Security that I had to redact stuff out of, but there's still a lot of useful stuff in here, and that's why I have it, because it helps me. Yep. But there's a lot of things you can do, and as a family, checklists for your family. Oh, okay, we have a fire. Did we do this, or this? Oh, we had a tornado come through. We need to check this, and this. Checklists are great. They save your mind. They save you from a lot of stress. When you can pull out something and go, okay, now I need to go down this. Rather than, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? It's like, I know what I need to do. Sammy, go do this. Betty, go do that. George, go do that. And you can give people assignments, and you can actually go down and check things. Just reading comments here. Okay, we're a little bit over, but hopefully everybody got something out of this, and you realize making a plan is not that hard if you start small and you work on start with your base plan and then expand there for what type of events you need to work on. Generally, your base plan will take care of all your foods and stuff, so you don't have to worry about, I need to, for earthquakes, I need to have 3 weeks worth of food and water, and for firestorms, I need to have another 6 weeks worth of food. No, you have your base plan with your food supply, and it covers all the food for all the other events. That way you're not having to do certain things. Yeah, and your medications is included in your base plan. That way you don't have to worry about medications for all the other separate little plans, unless there's something specific for it, like radiation poisoning. Now, that might be something specific for a dirty bomb event.
Or you have a nuclear power plant that's 3.5 miles over a hill from you. We used to have to do nuclear drills every frigging year at the county level.
Like 3 Mile Island?
No, that wasn't close to us, but we had one that was not far from us. And we had to, because what the plan was is that they had an issue there and there was fallout from the reactor that was traveling along the normal outflow of wind gusts in our area, and people were having to evacuate from where the nuclear power plant was into our area, and we had to set up checkpoints so that we could check them for radiation, make sure they weren't coming in with radiation all over them, get them cleaned up, and then move them on to medical aid if we had to. It was fun.
Yeah. All right, so coming up Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, on my Camp Patton Family Compound channel, we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving leftovers. So bring your recipes. We're going to talk different recipes, things you can do with the leftovers from Thanksgiving. And then next Tuesday here, we're going to talk about freezing temperatures, how unusual cold can wipe out your preps, food preps, that is, and water preps. So we're going to talk about, in planning in your preps, planning for extreme cold weather is a normal event. So, Homestead Aquarius, that is not funny. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. Green hail. Glowing green hail. Yeah. Anyways.
They were talking about iguanas, I think.
Iguanas. Well, I'm thinking we're talking about radiation and talking about green hail. That's the only thing I can think of coming out. Green hail coming down.
Yep.
All right, so that's what's coming up here. Do you have any? Are you just going to do open chat, or are you not even going to do anything on Friday?
I'm probably not going to do anything. I wasn't thinking last week when I took a week off, because Friday, everybody's, number one, the women are probably all going to be out at like 3:30 in the morning to go get all the early shopping store stuff, and yeah,
Amazon.
So I may not do it. Yeah. We'll see if something big's going on that everybody wants to talk about. Maybe I'll get up there and do something at 9. If not, we'll just kind of play it by ear, see what's happening. I'm sure Courtney will probably still have some late night talk that she's doing or something.
Yeah, or she may just pick right up after mine and with more recipes.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up here. And then, of course, tomorrow night, Courtney has her, I'm not sure who she's interviewing tomorrow. Or did she put it off because it's the day before Thanksgiving?
I think she's still doing it tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. And so, but on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, I'm not going to do Thursday talk for GrayManPrepping. We're going to skip that. And so, yeah, that's, Thursday. I'm not going to be on Thursday night for GrayManPrepping at all. So, all right, folks. I think we're going to wrap it up now and remind everybody, planning is not that hard if you start small. Any final words, Bruce?
Planning is the key to it, because if you run into something, at least if you've planned it, you've thought about it before. You don't want to go into a life and death situation having never thought of this situation before and what the hazards and the pitfalls can be. That's why they train so much in firefighting, police, and EMS.
Yeah, and that goes back to what the Kraken said. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. All right, folks. Catch you later.